Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to the members of the media for joining us. Councilmember Brian Bowman here. I'm joined by our Majority Leader, Leah Holton-Pope, our Finance Chair, Councilmember Mitch Nowakowski, and Councilwoman Zanetta Everhart. Our special session that was scheduled for tonight at 5 p.m. is effectively canceled. The ARP items that were to be discussed will be on Monday's council agenda, and we will be hearing from and discussing those items at our caucus meeting at 11 a.m. on Monday. Throughout the day, several items have been presented to us, and frankly, as council members received information, they had more questions, and this is an opportunity and an effort to have full transparency, to have council members fully informed and comfortable with very impactful, important votes that they're taking. We're discussing roughly $19 million of ARP amendments, and it's important that council members know what they're voting for. And we're also trying to balance the importance of getting these dollars out the door and not leaving one single penny of these federal dollars on the table for the city of Buffalo. With that said, I will pass this to our Majority Leader, Councilwoman Leah Holton-Pope.
Good afternoon, everybody. I guess we don't need this. Good afternoon. So as our President Pro Tem shared, this is a deliberative body, and it's our job to deliberate before we make decisions on something that can impact the thousands of people that we all represent in our districts. And I want to say, like, as colleagues, we ask for information and we try to be as transparent as possible with the public as a whole. And as soon as we got the information, it wasn't embargoed, we shared with the community, with the public. These are the documents that we received. And frankly, as a new member, I had lots of questions. We voted on a budget where I had lots of questions. And personally, I wasn't thrilled, but you hold your nose and you vote for it. Then we had a capital budget, and I had lots of questions. But you still hold your nose and you kind of vote for it because you need to. This one, it's going to take a little bit more because when we got information and they were forthright with additional info, that still left me bereft and a little confused. And as a deliberative body, it's time that we take time and be fair with the public as a whole. As such, we're going to bring caucus, instead of 1417, it will actually happen here in chambers at 11 a.m. on Monday. That will allow the public to be in chambers to hear, because transparency is important. It's hard to fit everybody in that small space at 1417. We want to make sure that the people are heard and that we take time over this week and these next few days to negotiate where we can, be intentional with what we're dealing with. We're talking about $19 million in possible revenue replacement funds, but also moving $11 million from water and sewage arrears to deal with water infrastructure. And this money is already, we just need to clarify some things. And more importantly, there's people behind smaller organizations in my district, a lot of them, who could be impacted. That concerns me. And I owe it to the Ellicott district and personally, and I also owe it to the people of Buffalo to be intentional in what we do here. And so this is why we've made a decision collectively. This was not one that we took lightly. We were asked to have a special session. We agreed to do this. Some of us reluctantly, but we agreed to do it. And as we got more information, we had to make a hard decision. And so this is where we are. And with that, I'm going to pass it to the Finance Chair, Mitch Nowakowski.
Thank you, Majority Leader. So just to not be redundant of what my colleague said, the reason why we are here today is because the Common Council has to reallocate funding because of the failure of the Brown administration to get the funding of ARP dollars out the door. The fact that they weren't out the door to be spent are leaving them into city coffers, and they have to be allocated before the December 31st deadline. Now, we are clearly aware as a council that we're going to embark on holiday weeks where staff and members that work on this day in and day out in City Hall will not be here. So we understand that we're within a time crunch, but it's our deliberating authority that allows these monies to be spent. So the mayor can propose and the Common Council disposes. Now, this holiday season, the ghost of Christmas past that is haunting City Hall is the Brown administration's failure to get these funds out on the street. And so when a deliberating body does not have enough information to make proper deliberations, you have to take time, get answers to those questions, and then be able to make an informed decision. And now this is a time where we're going to see localities that will never see the historic amount of federal dollars that go to federal municipalities. It'll never see this again. So the only thing that you can do is try to get it right, and you can only do that with informations, facts, and questions answered. So my colleagues now are standing together to make sure that before council members can hold a vote on this item, they are fully prepared to do so. And we've heard from nonprofits all throughout the city of Buffalo to our offices on if they will be able to get access to resources that they haven't. I think that the first thing that is concerning is the amount of nonprofits that we're discovering that didn't end up getting the dollars that they were promised. And here's the thing, we're learning that some of these promises could have just been promises. They could have been handshakes from Byron Brown. We don't know. But we can only work with the information that we have and be able to look at where this allocation of dollars has been spent, who has been awarded already dollars, who has been contracted already with the dollars, and ultimately how much we have remaining to be able to get out the door. And I think that the Common Council can vote to dispose of money in anywhere, but it is incumbent on the administration and the recipient to then enter a formal contract with each other, and that takes time. And so the council is going to be prudent with the vote. We understand that it has to be done before Christmas, and I look forward to all of my colleagues getting the information that they need to be able to make an informed decision before them. But this is not the Common Council putting us in this position. To the fact of the matter is that the Water Authority went around the council's prerogative to forgive low to moderate income individuals and residents, to forgive them of their water bills, to then use it for capital resources. Only the Common Council can dispose and allocate these dollars. So to not respect the Common Council and respect that the sewer and water payers of this city, to then use it for something else, and we find out at the last hour, is not only disappointing, it's disgusting. You cannot usurp municipal protocols or the Buffalo Common Council. Thank you.
Councilwoman Everhart.
Thank you, President Pro Tem. So I literally just left a graduation for CNA students, and that program is actually being funded by ARP dollars. And the first thing they said when I walked in there was, is our money in jeopardy, right? Young women, majority of them from the east side of Buffalo and the west side, they are worried if this program is going to continue. They're graduating, but what about the next group of students? Is their money in jeopardy? I don't know. We don't know. No one knows. And that's the point. Our job as Common Council members is the people. It is our responsibility to make sure that these dollars are spent where they were promised that they were going to be spent. And the information that we received yesterday, the information we received today, does not look like it's about the people. And that is a problem for us. And that is why we canceled this special session. We are going to keep asking these questions up until Monday and through Monday, because this is a problem for me. When I see where the cuts are going, all of those cuts are going to communities of color. That's a problem for me. And we're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna talk about it publicly, and we're gonna make sure that something good comes out of this for our communities. I will continue to fight. That is my job, to fight for the people, because that's what these dollars are about. And we're gonna make sure that it happens. I get it. Budget is tough, right? Money is tough right now. But guess what? Our people shouldn't have to be so tough. Money that was supposed to be used in marginalized communities where people can't afford to pay their water bills, that money was stolen from them, right? The information we received is insane. Where I'm from in the hood, it's called robbing Peter to pay Paul. Who are we robbing? The least of us, and it's not okay. And so, as my colleague stated, it is our job to pause this and sit down and ask the tough questions until we get answers that we're happy with. We're not going to just roll through this as if it's just okay, because it is not okay. Thank you.
Majority Leader and President Pro Tem will take questions, just a few minutes.
What specifically changed from last night when the special session was called to 1 o'clock today when the meeting was?
No, very fair question, and I understand that question. So from the administration, there was a want and a need to get these contracts approved and moving, and the council wants to do that as well. We want to get these dollars out the door. However, as we're seeing some of the categories that were broken down and further information, we're seeing, oh, those are some projects that we thought might have been moving forward. There's also confusion of some projects that have already been approved, but organizations are calling our offices are getting flooded with calls and emails as to, are we still good? Are they still allocated? So this is just a pause to give us that second to clarify and also discuss some of the things that we didn't see coming. Some projects that we thought were moving forward that currently as they stand don't seem like they are.
I can imagine some people at home are asking, this is a city government. Like at home, I have my checkbook, I know what money goes in and out every month, and they're sitting here wondering, how
do we
does
not
my
know?
city not know what's going in and out of their checkbook every month? What is the infrastructure like for keeping track of such large funds in city government? And these people who are wondering, how do you not know?
So, for the record, I think that's the problem. The system is broken tremendously. And it was broken from the start. Other people were able to disperse their funds across the country in a fair and equitable way. I don't think the systems were clear for everyone. And this is how we got to this point. We ask as a council consistently, where are the resources going? What do we do with unallocated funds? What happens with things that are already allegedly approved? And then we get to this point where we get this dumped into our laps, and all of us. And 2 of us weren't here to put us in it in the first place, but in the 12 months that we have been, I do know that we've asked every single month, well, what's going on with the ARP funds? And these are my colleagues' questions. It's not just 1 or 2 of us, all of us have asked consistently. But numbers don't lie. There's obviously a financial crisis in general, but if you don't get all of the facts, how can you know what your bank, if you're not checking your bank account, how do you know what's in it?
And given the situation, do you foresee the council trying to make infrastructure changes to better monitor those funds in the future?
I think we're looking at system and infrastructure changes across the board to streamline government. Government should not be this hard for the public, for the people, and because we're the closest to them, we're the ones that are going to get hit. We don't have anybody sitting outside of our door to guard anybody from coming to us. They come right to our offices and we open them up and talk to individuals. We're the ones who get calls directly, sometimes to your own desk, where they may ask what's going on, what happens. And so because we're at the front line, it's our job at the front line to put up a wall and say, wait, hold a minute, let me look out for the people. And this is our job. When our sole responsibility, regardless of other titles, those people who circled in for each and every one of us, they deserve responsible leadership. And as a council, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to be deliberative. We're going to make sure that we can do everything we can. Yes, there is a fiscal crisis. Nobody really wants to be Grinch. We need to figure out how to deal with that. But it shouldn't be on the backs of those who've worked really hard, who followed the process, who did everything that they needed to do. And then we end up in this spot where we sweep it all back from them.
Has the council seen the audit that the acting mayor's office has done of ARPA? Because that's what triggered a lot of this
No.
when he
No.
took office?
No.
Have you requested it?
Have we requested it?
Have you requested that, a copy of that audit from the mayor?
Oh, I think
They were
that's in
supposed
the
to be
works. They were
bringing it.
supposed to bring it.
Is there any clarity on how much you're making and how much funds?
The way we
The
understand it
million-dollar
is this is the $19 million that we're shifting. So, and to your question as well, as far as how do we not know where these funds, there was a joint agreement between the past administration and the council to move a lot of these funds, and a lot of them got out the door. This is, the way I understand it, the last $19 million that's being encumbered before the end of the year.
That's up to deliberation of being encumbered.
Yep.
So the Common Council and the then administration, Brown administration, made an agreement through a series of amendments that passed the council. And when one side does not hold up to that agreement in dispensing the funds, it leaves $19 million in essentially unused funds that needs to be allocated to entities and to budget lines that can be dispensed relatively very quickly.
Could you
Guys,
be
good
a
morning.
little bit more clear of like
Wait, you're both talking at the same time.
what programs potentially are at risk of?
Well, that's a good question. We don't know. We don't know fully which programs are being impacted. So the information that you all have, it's been made to the public. Everybody can look at the exact same thing that we're looking at, which is why we released it the way we did, to make sure you see what we see, and if you're scratching your head at home, imagine what we were doing in the middle of the night, looking through it, and then again this morning, just asking some more questions. And so before I take a vote on something, I want time to make sure that we can talk about it. Who's getting hit by this? I can tell you who's in those categories.
That's,
I can tell
we
you
were
what
given the
organizations are in the
in a general
categories.
sense, and then as the information came in, you know, that's what we're going through.
Right, but we're hearing about the program to help people who are behind on their water bills. We're hearing about people who are traditionally disadvantaged, right? But we're not kind of getting the specifics. Like,
So that water bill, those two,
They have that
those
right
two
there.
items are actually in the item you received. So if you look, it says water and sewer arrears forgiveness program is listed in there. And then at the bottom where it says 2, it says water infrastructure build out. That's a swap out. That's clearly listed in the documents you've already received. That entire sheet, which is Amendment 6, literally has the categories. We asked for more detail to find out who in those categories wasn't getting anything. For example, on Tuesday, we just talked about frontline arts, specifically talked about frontline arts. That, according to this chart that we received, they're gonna swipe $400,000 and some change. The total ask that they had was $450,000 pretty much was the total amount for 2 organizations. So they're not getting it. The whole thing is being taken all but $50,000 from that group. That's a problem for me. That's Ujima, that's El Museo. That's a problem.
Thank you, guys, that's all we're taking. Thank
See
you.
the need for more deliberation.
Will community groups be invited to speak at the caucus meeting on that?
So what we've done, the council staff has been instructed to create an opportunity for for constituents to be able to place, they can put, there's a Google Doc, submit all of your questions, whatever you have, and let us ask them for you. We're here to represent them. And so that has been, that's been up since yesterday, to allow the public to at least have a part in this conversation. And so I recommend that every single community person select your district that you're in and let your council member represent you and ask the questions.
Was fraud of the ARPA program by the previous administration?
Don't answer that.
We're done.
There was definitely mismanagement.
That's it, guys, come on.
We're done.
Let's go. Come on.
Thank you.